Hi, my name is Colin Rogers. This is my presentation for the course project for CSCE 631, Section 700. My project is titled Solving a Repeated Retail Fuel Pricing Game. So, the problem description is that fuel retailers have to optimize their prices in order to maximize long-term profitability. And these prices are very dependent on their competitors' prices at the moment. And this results in a very competitive environment where strategy is extremely important. And in practice, it's seen that individual markets display either an Edgeworth-like pricing cycle where the prices steadily decrease over the course of a few days or weeks, and then they suddenly increase very quickly, which is initiated by one of the competitors, and then everyone else follows them. It's either that pricing behavior or a steady focal price, like equilibrium type of thing, where they don't really change their prices unless wholesale cost increases. So the goal of this project is to model retail fuel pricing as a simplified, repeated two-player game and use online learning algorithms to see if we can replicate the Edgeworth-like pricing cycle or the steady focal price pricing behavior. So some related work is from Maskin and Tirole. Not sure if I pronounced those correctly, but uh, Edgeworth-like pricing cycles emerge naturally in competitive pricing environments due to the fact that competitors have to commit to a price for a certain amount of time before they're able to see the competitors' reactions to their price, in which they have to then uh, take a turn in this so-called game and commit to another price. So this kind of forms an alternating move game, which can be solved using game theory and online learning algorithms. Um, and then Noel in 2008 and 2015, he has several papers on this, where he talks about Edgeworth-like pricing cycles, specifically in retail fuel pricing. He shows that there are multiple Markov perfect equilibria. So the same market can show either an Edgeworth-like pricing cycle or steady focal prices, just given the competitor's existing strategy. And there's a case study that he made a paper on where there was a refinery explosion in Canada, and this caused a supply shock, which then took a lot of markets in the area that used to display Edgeworth-like pricing cycles, and then they started to display steady focal price cycles. And these are the same markets. This is just before and after a supply shock. So that displays the fact that there can be two different like optimal pricing strategies to be seen like over a whole market. And then finally, Eckert, he displayed that you can only see steady focal pricing behavior when all the firms in one market are similarly sized. And what he claims causes Edgeworth-like cycles are asymmetry, as in different firms have different like price elasticity coefficients, where the same two different firms can have the same price, but one of them will just get more demand just because of the fact that they're a bigger firm. And apparently, this is what causes Edgeworth-like cycles. You'll see further in this presentation that my findings do not align with that, and we'll discuss why. So the game setup for this is there's two players, and there's only five actions that each player can take, and that is setting their margin to either 0 cents, 5 cents, 10 cents, 15 cents, or 20 cents. And then the payoffs are calculated by taking a predetermined total demand that either player can get, which is 1,000 in all of the trials, and then computing their share of this demand using logit share and using K values for each player. And the K value represents the price elasticity of demand coefficient. So it determines this constant variable determines exactly how much demand they will get given the price that they post. Um, and then so there are three different game versions where one is symmetric, so both of the players will have equal K values, meaning they'll have if they have the same price, they will get the same amount of demand and therefore the same payoff. And that is if they have the exact same price at the same time. And then there's two asymmetric versions of the game where P1 has a disadvantage of having a higher price elasticity value and then another version where P1 has the advantage of having a lower price elasticity value. And finally, the learning algorithms used for this to see if we can see an Edgeworth-like pricing cycle or steady focal price is the follow the leader, follow the regularized leader, and follow the perturbed leader with Gaussian perturbations. So to start off with the results, I will talk about the computed Nash equilibria for the three different versions of the game. So interestingly, for the symmetric game, there are three different Nash equilibria, two of which are pure strategies, and then one is a mixed strategy. So the pure strategy, as you can see on the screen, both players will price at 5 cents 100% of the time. Another one is they'll price at 10 cents 100% of the time. And finally, the mixed strategy, they will price at 5 cents 80% of the time, and then 10 cents almost 20% of the time. And this is where I initially believed that we would see the Edgeworth-like pricing cycle emerge. Um, and then for the asymmetric game, where P1 has a disadvantage, um, P1, this is in the perspective of P1, by the way. P1, 100% of the time, would have to price at 5 cents margin in order to get the maximum payoff. And then the asymmetric game where P1 has the advantage, they will price at 10 cents, whereas the P2 will have to price at 5 cents 100% of the time. So the learned pricing strategies from each of the learners can be seen in the following slides. Since I don't have enough space in this presentation or time, I'm just going to go over one version per learner. So FTL, this is the symmetric version of the game where both of the players have the same K value. You'll see that there's a quick convergence onto one of the three Nash equilibrium. This is the pure strategy where they're both pricing at 10 cents. And I can remind you that there's another pure strategy where everyone prices at 5 cents. And then the mixed strategy, I have not been able to see that in any of the trials that I've ran, even though it is a valid Nash equilibrium strategy. So for FTRL, this is the one where P1 has the disadvantage. There's a slower convergence onto the only Nash equilibrium, but still it converges onto the Nash equilibrium, so it's performing well. And it also shows that this is a more complex game when there's an asymmetrical payoff for the same actions between the two players. And then for Follow the Perturb Leader, this one is supposed to converge the fastest, and it seems that it did. And this is the most complex game because the previous asymmetrical game, P1 had a K value, which is the same as P2's K value, except it's 4% higher. Whereas this game, it is 4% lower. And the actual value is 26 versus 25 for the previous asymmetric game, and then 24 versus 25 for this asymmetric game. So this is as I said, this is a more complex game, where, as you can see, in the convergence part of this slide, follow the leader and follow the regularized leader were not able to converge on the Nash equilibrium within the time frame that you saw on the previous plots. I had to extend the rounds played in order for them to finally converge onto the Nash equilibrium. But follow the perturbed leader, as you can see in this plot, only needed less than 25 rounds to get there. So the conclusion you can draw from that is the difference in K values has a massive effect on the complexity of the game, meaning that it's harder for the learners to converge onto the Nash equilibrium. And unfortunately, I did not see any Edgeworth-like cycles produced by these learners. I only saw focal pricing, where even though the symmetrical game did have a valid mixed strategy Nash equilibrium, none of the learners would converge onto that. And I believe that this is because I didn't have enough discrete margin values or action values for them to take. As I said before, since the K value has such a important role in determining the payoff, And this value being changed by just a little will have a huge effect on the outcome of the game. Um, it tracks that if you were to have many more possible actions, then maybe you would start seeing more mixed equilibria for all of these games. And finally, I did not run this game and these learners for enough trials to see if that symmetrical game would ever start showing the mixed Nash equilibrium, which might have looked somewhat like an Edgeworth-like cycle that you see in practice. So that concludes my presentation. Thank you.